All right, now that we've made our finished product of what we want our chocolate bar to look like, we need to make the actual block that we're going to turn into the cavity, or create the cavity in for our mold. So this, if you remember, was 5.5 by 1.5 inches. So we're going to make sure that our next piece that we make is a little bit bigger than that. So I'm going to make it as a 2 by 6. So that's going to be its own part, which I already saved my custom piece. And so I'm going to go ahead and create the actual block that I'm going to put it into now. So we'll do a rectangle and dimension, and again it's going to be 6 inches wide and 2 inches tall, and we want it to be bigger and thicker than our other one. So let's go ahead and oops, 3 more. I'm going to go to extrude, and we're going to extrude this guy. Let's just go 1 inch, because we made our chocolate bar 1/2 inch, so this will be 1. And I'm going to go ahead and save this as just mold block. Let's say custom chocolate bar mold block. All right, because that's what it's going to go into. Okay. Now what we're going to have to do is go to an assembly. So we're going to open up a new file. Standard IAM is Inventor Assembly. So when we open that up, and we're waiting for it to open, and there it is, thinking about opening. Okay, we're going to go place, and I need to bring in both parts. I need to bring in, let's see here, chocolate mold. And bring in my mold block, and I need one of those, and I'll right click and say alright, and we're also going to bring in the actual chocolate bar, and okay. Now we want to constrain these things so that this is right inside that. So I'm going to go to free rotate. I'm going to select this guy. I'm going to spin him around a little bit so he's actually facing the other one. I'm going to go ahead and ground this main block. Ground. Now I'm going to constrain, and I'm going to tell this face to be flush to this face. Apply. I'm going to go to mate. I'm going to tell this edge and this edge to be together, except if you remember it's 6 inches versus 5.5 inches, so I'm going to offset it 1/4 inch. And it pulled it toward me. I actually want it going the other way, so I'm going to say negative and hit apply. And same thing from the top edge to the top face, and then put it in 0.25. And it came up again, so I'm going to hit negative and apply. And although you can't see it, I should have changed the color. It is sitting right here, and it's inside the other material. Okay, so what we need to do at this point is just say we're done with that, and I'm going to go ahead and save this as the assembly. So save as, let's say custom chocolate bar mold. Save. Alright, and now we're going to do one more file. We're going to go to a part file, and we're going to use what's called Derive component. So I haven't clicked on anything yet, so I'm going to go to Environment. No, I'm not. Manage? Yes. Under Manage, you'll find this little button right here, which is Derived Component. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go find my assembly, which, if I can get to my Google Drive, now we've got chocolate mold. And here's my assembly. I'm going to open that. Now what happens in a derived component is you get an option. You can make things solid, and you can also make them negatives or cavities. So I'm going to say, hey, the mold block, I do want that. But this custom chocolate bar, I'm going to click on it and click on that little plus, and it turns to a negative. And you'll see now what was there is actually now a negative. I'm going to hit OK. And what that's going to do is now bring in this derived component with the cavity of what I shaped, what I had placed there. So you can see that the Mr. Katie is my favorite is now reversed. Okay, and that's how we create the part. And you're going to want to save this as your actual mold. Now, one thing I'm noticing is it looks much deeper than I wish it was. So I made this block 1 inch thick. I'm going to go back to the actual block I made here because I still have it open on the bottom. And I'm going to right click on that extrusion and say edit feature. And instead of making it a full 1 inch thick, what if I made it 3/4 of an inch thick and say OK. And then I'm going to hit save on that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see if did that actually update to there's the assembly right here. And I'm going to hit this little update button, which is a little lightning bolt, and it pushed up forward into the more shallow block.
No, I'm trying to write something.
And then here's my new part. I'm going to hit the update folder on that. There, the update button, and it just made it so my mold isn't as deep as it used to be. Okay. Now if I want to make this so that the chocolate comes out even easier, I could round off some of these corners in here to make sure that the chocolate didn't have sharp corners and would help it fall off. So if you want to now touch up the mold that you made for this, you could. You could go back into 3D model and you could use some fillets or you could use some chamfers and really round off some of these edges to make them so they're a little more user friendly for the chocolate to come out of there. Okay, so go ahead and save what you've got. Oh, and you know what I actually just noticed? By making this 0.75, it didn't make this less deep, it just took off some off the bottom. What would make it less deep actually, if I go to this chocolate bar and I go to the actual extrusion on that, and let's make that instead of a 1/2 inch thick, you'd have to make it a little bit less, but if you make it much less, it's going to break. So you know what, let's just leave it. Let's just leave it. Alright, so save your part. This is what we're going to then turn into an STL file, and you're going to be printing this on the Rapid Prototyper. Alright, I changed my mind one more time. We're actually going to make one more modification to this part to make it so that when you fill this with chocolate, that you can actually get the chocolate out of there. So instead of having this be one continuous solid piece, we're going to do a little trick here. And I'm going to take a plane, I'm going to click on this face over here, and then I'm going to rotate it around and click on the opposite face over here, and you'll see it puts a plane right through the middle of this mold. And I'm going to use what's called the split tool right here. And if I hit split, and I'm going to go down here to split this middle, right, I think trim solid. And the split tool is going to be this middle plane. Let's see, no, actually, you know what, it's going to be split solid. No, it is this one. It's going to remove one side or the other. So here's what we're going to do. When I hit OK, it's going to remove half of that. And we should save this as mold part right. So we have that half of the mold. And then once you've saved that as its own part, I want you to right click on split, go to edit feature, switch it the other direction and hit OK, and then you'll save this as mold part left. And that way you'll have two different parts. You'll rapid prototype them together. You'll have this piece and you'll have this piece. When you put them together, you'll then be able to fill them with chocolate. Once it's solidified, you'll be able to wiggle the two pieces separate from one another and get the chocolate out of there. And I think that'll work better than having a solid piece. All right, now we're done.